Welcome to the bite-sized series of the T-Level Education and Childcare ESP. Let's explore Task 1. Task 1A is an intervention plan. In this task, students are required to consider all aspects of the brief and create an early support plan. Students are required to work independently and under supervised conditions to create their plan. The plan should be based on the detailed brief and the pro forma that is provided for this task. Students must complete this task within 3 hours. As part of this plan, students should plan and manage how they will spend their time in the 3-hour window in order to produce what is outlined in the evidence requirements. Students will be able to demonstrate their ability to plan and manage their time effectively throughout this task by ensuring there is sufficient detail in each of the boxes. Practicing a 3-hour task can really support your students in this area. Your students may also wish to put markers about how long they want to spend on each particular area, so they manage their time accordingly. The most effective plans will clearly address the child or young person's development as detailed in the brief and their support needs, rather than being less targeted and more generic in the approach. Throughout the ESP, it's important that the students are always referring to the brief. To meet the assessment objectives and the brief, students should be reminded that they are required to demonstrate the 4 core skills, as well as AO 1, 2, and 3. Students should demonstrate how they would plan to communicate information clearly to engage children and young people. For example, the instructions given to a child or young person to ensure understanding and engagement in an activity occurs. Or alternatively, and additionally, ensuring that communication that they use is age and stage appropriate. So for example, giving clear instructions, their use of body language and how they model. Ensuring that your students are aware of the assessment objectives and what the examiner will be looking for in AO1, AO2 and AO3, so that they include knowledge, understanding, and also demonstrate application will help your students gain the most marks. Let's have a look at task 1B now. Students are required to work independently and under supervised conditions to create an activity plan which is based on their detailed brief, as well as their early support plan or intervention plan from task 1A. Students should be provided with a hard copy, so a printout of their support plan for task 1A, but students are not allowed to make any amendments to their work from task 1A during completion of task 1B. Students must complete this task within 3 hours. As part of this plan, once again, students should be managing their time effectively in order to produce what is outlined in the evidence requirements. Students can gain marks by providing creative, accurate and concise information on their activity plan to meet the task requirements, using the information from their early support plan and making those consistent links to the project brief. Student activity plans should contain a proficient level of detail with reference of relevant educational theories, concepts and pedagogies underpinning the activity plan. Students should take care not to reference inappropriate practice. So, for example, using terms such as punishment and naughty corner, as this terminology is not accepted as current and appropriate practice, and in such cases, higher marks will not be awarded. Remember, their research notes should contain the relevant and accurate terminology based on the materials that they have received in their teaching and learning throughout the qualification. Students should include how they would work with others to plan and provide activities to meet children and young people's needs. And the plan should include ways to work in partnership with parents, key persons, practitioners, key workers and other professionals. For example, planning together, sharing information and strategies. Students should include how the role of observation could be used to track progress throughout the activity, as well as identifying other opportunities for formative and summative assessment that they could use to track children's progress, which would help them to plan and shape the educational opportunities. For example, the specific models of observations they may use, and likewise specific assessment activities that they would include. Students should consider how they assess and manage risks to their own and others' safety when planning their activities. To enable students to demonstrate a good understanding of hazards and risks, they should be relevant to the activity they have planned rather than generic hazards. Students will achieve higher grades if they are able to explain their practical application and, in some cases, where they can, underpin their plan with the relevant legislation. Including legislation and correctly referencing it in their pre-release research can enable students to achieve well in this section of the plan, as they will have that information to hand and won't need to remember it from memory. Throughout the plan, the students can demonstrate their mathematical skills in how they process and interpret the data in the project brief and how they incorporate that into their plan and reference it. Digital skills are demonstrated in their presentation of the information that they share. Is it clear in their word process plan? Is it easy to follow? Students can further demonstrate evidence of digital competence by including the design of learning materials and examples of how to record and track children and young people's attainment. It is important that the students present their evidence in a clear, easy to follow format, and use of technical terminology will ensure that students are showing confidence in the application of their written skills, communicating in a clear and concise way. Students are advised to proofread their work for accurate spelling, grammar and punctuation before submission and the end of the task to avoid errors which could impact on their achievement of all the available marks that they could achieve on this task. And that goes back to the beginning about students planning their time well, that they, in their 3-hour window, that they leave a period of time for proofreading and checking for those SPAG errors.